All right, let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons here for a little bit. Look, obviously, we're about a week through training camp now. The first four practices of Atlanta Falcons training camp are in the books, and the Falcons, even after reviewing their team through the first 4 days, aren't done making moves. They've recently made a roster move, a new addition to the Falcons roster that I think is a great sign for the Falcons as we get ready for the 2023 season.
Yeah, Nick, as I think we break this move down, Falcons fans are going to see there's a lot to like about the coming season. It's just a foretelling of what could happen with this Falcons team. I think they're going to love this story. But Falcons fans, talking about next season, let's get into it. Leave the receipts in the comment section below. Now's the time to make your official predictions. What is the record going to be next season? I think there's going to be a big change between this year and last year. I want to see how optimistic you're feeling, though. Let us know in the comment section below. What is your prediction for next season's record in the comment section below? But Nick, let's get into the story.
All right, let's go ahead and throw it up. This is from the Falcoholic, and I'll read from the report. The Atlanta Falcons took a look at the free agency market on what is their first day off from training camp following 4 straight practices from Wednesday through Saturday, signing former Lions and Seahawks running back Godwin Igwebuike. Igwebuike most recently appeared in 5 games for the Seahawks last season, tallying just 4 rushing yards, but also taking 11 kickoff returns for 308 yards. That's a 28.0 average, including a career-high 50-yard return at one point. Igwebuike has a lot of experience as a returner and is kind of a scat back in his career in the NFL. It will seem that he will factor into Atlanta's open kick return competition in addition to providing depth at running back. Igwebuike has good size and speed, measuring at about 6 feet tall, 213 pounds, and having run a 4.4440 time at the 2018 Combine. All right, Miles, obviously this kind of move jumped out at me for really one big reason. They could have made this move before training camp. They could have made this move a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, if they were just looking for another camp body to potentially compete for the kick returner position. The fact that they waited till after seeing the first 4 practices and seeing their first glimpse at the team, I think to me really jumped out at me. And I think this is a great sign for the Falcons. Here's why. The Falcons had a lot of question marks, obviously, going into training camp. How good was Bijan Robinson going to be? How was Mac Hollins going to be? What's Desmond Ridder going to look like? Is Tyler Algier ready to build off his outstanding rookie year? Kyle Pitts coming off injury. Jonnu Smith returning to the Arthur Smith offense, joining the Atlanta Falcons from the New England Patriots last season. A lot of question marks. Through this first 4 practices, Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith, I have no doubt they met and they got together and said, everything looks great. Everything looks absolutely phenomenal. We're actually even better. We're ahead of schedule where we thought to be. We really have a chance to be a top flight contender in the NFC South this year and potentially the entire NFC. The only thing that could potentially derail it is if their offensive game plan, which they're introducing now, gets totally thrown for a loop due to an injury. And the one weak point in their game plan, potentially, in my opinion, is the Cordell Patterson position he plays on the offense, which is literally every position. They have all kinds of great and exotic packages for Cordell Patterson, lining up at running back, slot, wide receiver. He does it all. Teams have to game plan for that, and that gives the Atlanta Falcons a big advantage. I think one of the concerns that Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot had is that if Cordell Patterson goes down, and look, he's missed a few games for the past couple seasons, if he goes down, that will brutally hurt them in the recruiting, in the game plan game, Bringing in Igwebuike, a guy who has experience as a kick returner. So Cordell Patterson goes down, he can fill that role. Was a good receiving running back for the Detroit Lions a couple years ago, was a good running back for the Lions as well in a sort of scat back kind of duty. I think they look at him as Cordell Patterson light. So that way, if Patterson goes down, they have a guy in Igwebuike who has the entire training camp to know the Falcons offense. They can pick him up when Patterson goes down for a couple games, and they don't miss a beat in the game planning department. Teams won't have the ability to go to the Atlanta Falcons and say, hey, listen, they're going to have to start completely over from scratch. Patterson's gone. Their offense is thrown for a loop. That won't happen at all. They'll be able to keep running what they're running. And right now it looks deadly with the likes of Bijan Robinson, Desmond Ridder, Kyle Pitts, the whole crew, Drake London. Everybody's looking phenomenal. I think because of all that, this is a really smart move by the Atlanta Falcons, removing and mitigating some risk with a potential Cordell Patterson injury. But Miles, I'm curious, what are your thoughts on this addition by the Atlanta Falcons?
Yeah, Nick, you brought it up and you said the words Cordell Patterson light. Well, you say his statistics. Let's look at Cordell Patterson real fast. 6'2", 220, 4'4", 240. It sounds like this guy at 6 foot, 213, 444. He's basically the same frame as Cordell Patterson. They're the same player. Cordell Patterson's obviously more established, a more reputable player at that role. But like you said, this guy could fill in very, very nicely, especially with his acumen as a kick returner in the scat back position. This guy seems like a perfect backup potential for Cordell Patterson. But Nick, we got to think about this thing 2 ways because there's 2 options here. One, yes, Cordell Patterson could get hurt, and that would put a wrench into the Falcons' game plans. But also, they have a stable of running backs now And there is still some life in Cordero Patterson. So there's still some trade value available for Cordero Patterson as well. And you hear the stories surfacing around the league the last few days. He may be shopped around a little bit why he still has some value left. Yes, I know it might not be popular. You don't want to lose him. But listen, you got to trade a guy when you can get something for him, because you look over at the Buffalo Bills, you see Naheem Hines went down. There's talks about that potential trade option there. There's just talks about guys taking kick returning things, seeing what's not, hitting the wheels on some of the other running backs, trying to see who is available and then what could they get for Cordero Patterson, just because this guy, he is going to be a foregone conclusion from the Falcons eventually. Bijan Robinson is the future of this franchise. You have other guys. He is no longer going to be a high point in this offense after the next few years, but I think this year he still is. So whether he gets hurt or whether he gets traded, I think this Igwebuike is being brought in to be a possible cover for any unforeseen changes they make with Cordero Patterson's position going forward.
Yeah, Miles, that's a great point, because that's what smart teams do, right? You always hear about great investors. What do? They sell high. They don't wait too long for the situation where they make their money in an investment. And you got to treat Cordero Patterson, if you're Terry Fontenot, as an investment. And if someone makes you an offer you can't refuse, like the Buffalo Bills, for example, and you sit there and say, we could get an incredible amount of value if we trade Cordero Patterson, but gosh darn it, we don't have someone ready to fill that position. So we have to hold on to him, and we don't get that great value. Instead, you bring in Igwebuike, and you've got a guy who can play that position, who can do the kick returner roles, can do some of the different things at that scat back position, can line up out wide, although I'm sure Bijan Robinson would handle more of those duties in that situation. I think in that case, this is a brilliant job by Terry Fontenot in terms of setting up your team for success for any other potential opportunities going forward. Terry Fontenot has had a great offseason. We talked about it all March, April, frankly, May and June as well. But what he did here at the start of training camp is another sneaky smart move. And if I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan, I'm really excited by this development.